and football are synonymous now, as they have been for half a century of Canadian football progress. Long before nature's own autumn festival begins, the youngsters are out in front yards, parks, and playgrounds, building the skill and physical fitness required in the most rugged of all contact sports. In these golden days, football is king, and the last Saturday of November each year is his by royal decree, the day when East meets West for the Earl Grey Trophy. The Canadian game of rugby football was introduced in Montreal in the late 1800s. In 1874, the first international game was played between McGill and Harvard. The referees wore top hats. Some of the rules they had to enforce were weird and wonderful. It was definitely illegal to hack, throttle, or pummel the ball carrier. On June 1st, 1909, Earl Grey donated the Grey Cup, the present-day symbol of Canadian football championship. He placed it in the keeping of 3 trustees, one of whom was Percival Molson, in whose memory Molson Stadium was given to McGill University. In 1920, the cup was turned over to the Canadian Rugby Union. But the trophy began its tempestuous life when the University of Toronto met Toronto Parkdale in the 1909 Cup final. Many dedicated people down through the years have built football to the point where it's become Canada's greatest sports spectacle. Not the least of these have been the players themselves. Men like Smurl Lawson, whose scoring records for varsity and the Argonauts still stand. Lionel Conacher, the fabulous Big Train. In the first East-West final in 1921, he scored 2 touchdowns, kicked a field goal, and 2 singles. Fritzie Hansen achieved national fame as the Galloping Ghost in 1935, when Winnipeg Blue Bombers won the Grey Cup on Hamilton's home grounds. Tony Golab, the Golden Boy, 4 times in the Grey Cup final for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Chess McCants played in 8 Cup finals. His scoring record still puts him in the first 10 of all-time Grey Cup scorers. Jeff Russell was captain of Montreal's Winged Wheelers in 1925, and in 1926, when he died accidentally, his #1 sweater was retired for life. The Jeff Russell Memorial Trophy is awarded to the most valuable and sportsmanlike player in the Eastern League. In the West, the same award is in memory of Jeff Nicklin. The trophy was donated by officers and men of his paratroop battalion when Colonel Nicklin was killed in action, March 24th, 1945. It was Warren Stevens of Syracuse University who stunned the football faithful in Montreal in 1931 by introducing the forward pass. Joe Kroll, whose star shone brightest in the pre-import days, is the all-time leading Grey Cup scorer. He won every known award in Eastern Canadian football. Joe Kroll and the hundreds of other former greats of the Canadian game have helped to write the football legend which is the basis for the Grey Cup game as we know it today. The semi-finals and the annual Grey Cup clash in 1960 find American imports and Canadian-born players competing side by side. In the West, Edmonton knocked off the Calgary Stampeders easily in a 2-game total point series. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers were top-heavy favorites to eliminate Edmonton and go on and win the Grey Cup. In the 2 out of 3 Western finals, the Bombers won the first game in Edmonton and lost the second in a bone-crushing battle on their home grounds. Late in the 4th quarter of the final game, the Winnipeg Bombers were desperately defending a 2-1 lead. A fumble in the dying minutes set up the Eskimos for a field goal. As the sun lowered over Winnipeg Stadium, it set on the hopes of the Bomber fans and Coach Grant. Meanwhile, in the Eastern Big Four, it was sudden death between Perry Moss's Montreal Alouettes and Frank Clair's Ottawa Rough Riders. Ron Stewart and a battling Rough Rider club eliminated the Alouettes without difficulty, despite the brilliant leadership and passing of the great Sam Etcheverry. Then it was home and home with total points to count between Ottawa and the Toronto Argonauts. Lou Agassiz, the mastermind. Tobin Rote, his record-smashing quarterback. And under this mass of human tonnage, the wily professor. The Argonauts, trailing on the round by 12 points when the game began, roared back to take a 1-point lead at the half. The Argos finally wilted under the line pressure. The final score in the two-game series, 53-41. For Frank Clare, it's upward and onward to Vancouver and the Grey Cup game. The morning of the day before the Grey Cup game was like any other day in Vancouver. It was slightly misty, to be sure, but the city doesn't consider the weather unusual for this time of year. The traffic stops and starts to conform with the crosswalk laws. The modern buildings rise majestically to vie with the highest peaks of the nearby mountains. Peace and serenity reign in Vancouver. But then the football specials arrive from Winnipeg and Calgary. The Mardi Gras spirit envelops the entire city. The noise is unrestrained, the hijinks uninhibited, and the gaiety unparalleled. All day long, and then far into the night, the annual football madness echoes in the misty coastal gardens. The dawn of Grey Cup Saturday, the celebrants sleep, while the ghostly figures of working crews prepare for the day's events. Dawn becomes day, a day unlike any other, not merely because of the Cup final, but also because of the public-spirited men and organizations who make it the Grey Cup Festival. The parade is 2 hours long, the armed services sections leading off, paying tribute to the newly appointed Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia, Major General George Perks. The sun comes out for the first time in a week and bathes Miss Grey Cup from Edmonton in a golden glow. Missed, but only by a few whiskers. They shovel it high, wide, and handsome in the subway city. Miss Grey Cup, 1980. There they are, up to their old trikes. The pride of the Montreal Football Club with 50 more high-stepping mamselles behind, and the Alouette band to play them on. Miss Grey Cup, 1981. Miss Toronto Argonaut, a lovely substitute for a young school teacher whose duties kept her in the classroom. A beautiful prairie flower, Miss Saskatchewan Rough Rider. real capital cutie is Miss Ottawa Rough Rider. Who cares if the tulips aren't always in bloom? The girls are. Miss Grey Cup 1982. This kitten represents the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They promised to bring the whole family to the Grey Cup game in 1961. Kamloops never had it so good. The band was away for 3 whole days. Miss Calgary Stampeder heads up a contingent from the city that inaugurated Grey Cup parades way back in 1948 when they invaded Toronto to cheer their team to victory. Vancouver has the largest Chinese population in any North American city except San Francisco. These graceful and charming young ladies, dressed in costumes of their homeland, are part of the Vancouver Chinese girls drill team. The parade's over, so it's off to Empire Stadium. A program is only $50. But even a bulging wallet is no guarantee of acquiring a ticket. Empire Stadium broke attendance records all season, and there's no doubt that football in Vancouver has even a rosier future. Some weighty reasons for optimism on the part of the Ottawa fans. 3 years of building for Frank Clare. Today may be his shining hour. The quarterback slots the question mark, Ron Lancaster, or the more experienced Canadian-born Russ Jackson. Only time will tell, and that commodity is fast running out. Coach Eagle Keys of the Eskimos has worries of his own. Will he go with the Canadian quarterback Don Getty or the fabulous import Jackie Parker? The Edmonton backfield is the most feared of any team in the Western Football Union. It's a thrilling day for Mary Jo Powell. The 1960 Grey Cup game is about to begin. Ottawa wins the toss. The officials, Seymour Wilson and Bill Nairn. Ralph Cooper, the president of the Canadian Football League, kicks off. Sam Berger, president of the Big Four, holds. Now for the play-by-play, here is Steve Douglas.
Okay, Ted Reynolds, we're all set to go. The Ottawa Rough Riders in white jerseys, just conferred with head coach Frank Clare. Edmonton, they wear the green jerseys. And it's Tommy Joe Coffey who kicks off for the Eskimos, and the ball game is underway. Taken by Doug Daniel, a fine run back, finally hit down by Coffey on the Rough Rider 42. The Ottawa quarterback is Russ Jackson, and he displays his varied talents early with this 15-yard gallop before Ed Gray makes the tackle on him. This is fullback Dave Thielen into the line for just 1 yard. Gino Fracas makes the stop. The Edmonton defense stiffens again with Nat Dye and Al Equier moving in to drop Jackson for a 6-yard loss. On third down, it's Jim Conroy back to kick. Rolly Miles on the receiving end, and Angelo Mosca comes in with a driving tackle. The ball squirts loose, and Gil Archambault falls on it. The first break of the ball game gives Ottawa possession on the Edmonton 24. The Rough Riders' mighty might, halfback Ron Stewart carrying on a wing reverse for 7 yards, Joe Bob Smith tackling. This time the fast handoff to Stewart produces 5 yards and the first down. It's Stewart again, and even in slow motion, he shows a fine burst of speed before he is upended by safety man Oscar Kruger. This calls for a sideline conference, Coach Keyes and Jackie Parker. Here is Russ Jackson. He is almost nailed before he gets the pass away off the fingertips of veteran end Bobby Simpson. On third down and still 5 yards to go, a field goal try by Gary Schreider. From the difficult angle close in, Schreider's kick is true. The Ottawa Rough Riders break the scoring ice, 3-0 over Edmonton. First down for the Eskies, their own 35-yard line. Their great fullback, Johnny Bright, straight ahead for 5 yards. Edmonton's perennial all-star quarterback, Jackie Parker, on the rollout, spots Joe Bob Smith, but he's unable to hang on to the ball. Here's Vic Chapman's kick for the Eskimos, and when the ball takes a backward bounce, Ron Stewart grabs it, is hit immediately by Roy Stevenson, and the Eskimos are called for no yards. After Dave Thielen makes 4 yards off tackle, Ron Stewart carries here, short yardage, gets about 3, Equier makes the stop. Conroy on the Ottawa 52. His kick is taken by Rolly Miles, and Fred Robinson down very fast to make the grab. Later in the first quarter, following an exchange of kicks, here are the Western champions, first down from their 7. Parker hitting big end Jim Lefkowitz for a 13-yard advance. Schreider made the tackle. After Bright gets 2 yards, on second down, Parker tries for Joe Bob Smith. It's incomplete as George Brancato defends for the Rough Riders. This is Vic Chapman kicking again. It goes to Ron Stewart, and watch him. He is finally chased out of bounds by Normie Kwong, but he gets back to the Edmonton 48-yard line. Into the right side of the line goes Thielen, and he picks up 7 yards with Ed Gray making the stop. With 3 yards to go, Stewart gets twice that distance as Miles moves in from a linebacker's spot and brings him down. Now directing the Rough Rider attack is rookie quarterback Ron Lancaster. Unable to find a receiver, Lancaster swings wide. He fumbles when hit from behind by Equier, and it's Equier himself who finally makes the recovery for Edmonton. No further scoring in the first quarter. The scoreboard reads Ottawa 3, Edmonton nothing. About halfway through the second quarter, the Eskimos begin a drive from their own 26-yard line, a drive that leads to the first touchdown of the game. Parker finds his favorite target, Jim Lefkowitz. The gain is 19 yards. Poirier is the Ottawa defender. This time, Parker gets little chance to get the ball away as the Ottawa defense charges through, and it's Mosca who dumps him for a 2-yard loss. And this is the big one for the Eskimos. Parker to Letkevitz again. The receiver is behind Schreider and outruns him for the major score as Poirier comes up just a little bit too late. Jim Letkevitz, the Edmonton hero. The try for the extra point by Tommy Joe Coffey is wide of the uprights. And the Eskimos have a 3-point margin, 6-3. Coffey's short kickoff is taken by Ottawa's Bill Sawalski, and he's hauled down by Howie Shum at the Rough Rider 37. The ball carrier is Stewart. The gain is 5 yards, and it's Gray who piles it up. Russ Jackson is handling Ottawa's quarterback duties again. His pass to halfback Joe Kelly is worth 25 yards, a first down on Edmonton's 43.
Come on, defense, dig in!
After Thielen breaks through the right side for 5 yards, the Riders get another break when Kelly recovers the ball on this backfield mix-up and goes up the middle for 7 yards to Edmonton's 31. Now watch number 12, quarterback Russ Jackson, as he bootlegs the ball beautifully. Spots in Bill Sawalski all by himself and heading for the end zone. Touchdown, Ottawa, and the Riders go in front again. And this is the man who put them there, number 75, Bill Sawalski. Schreider is wide on the convert attempt. It's Ottawa in the lead by 9 points to 6. The Ottawa kickoff by Mo Racine is taken by Rolly Miles, a run back to the Eskimos' 32 before Scotia brought him down. Parker's ability to get rid of the ball at the last moment is shown here as Jim Conroy piles into him just as he lets the pass go. And pulling it in for a 13-yard pickup is Letkevitz with Schreider on the tackle. And on the Edmonton bench, injured star Art Walker lends vocal encouragement. Parker to Joe Bob Smith for 9 yards. Daniel stops the advance. It's big fullback Johnny Bright who moves the sticks with a 3-yard burst. Bruce stops him. The Eskimos have first down on Ottawa's 53. Again, the hard-charging Ottawa defensive unit led by Jerry Nesbitt and Jim Reynolds get to Parker. The loss is 7 yards.
Let's get the ball!
Ottawa's defensive strength shows here in a different way as George Brancato breaks up a Parker to Chapman pass, and the players resemble ballet dancers.
Let's go, gang! Let's get in there! Way to go, George! Way to cover!
Chapman kicking for Edmonton. Stewart taking the punt, being stopped by Coffey at the Rough Rider 19. Stewart goes on a wide sweep but gets just 3 yards as Volkin and Equier combine to make the stop. And on the sidelines, Merv Collins and the professor receive a message from assistant coach Bill Smith up on the roof. The ground level shot here gives you an idea of Stewart's great speed as he goes for 17 yards before Kruger stops him. And as the first half comes to an end, it's still the Ottawa Rough Riders in front of the Edmonton Eskimos, 9 points to 6. And for the halftime entertainment, let's hear again from Ted Reynolds.
All right, Steve, and we're all set for a tremendous demonstration of precision marching and drill by the BC Lions cheerleaders and majorettes. These youngsters perform all season at Empire Stadium and keep the crowd stirred up right from the opening gun. Musical director of the 60-piece BC Lions band is Dal Richards. The little girl in the Lions outfit is 14-year-old Mary Stewart. She's the club's mascot and one of the finest young swimmers in Canada. She beat some of the best in the world at the Olympics in Rome. All the routines and displays were worked out especially for today's game by the choreographers Gordon Olson and Grace McDonald. The theme, of course, is football, with the flavor of Canadian maple. The spectators are settled down for the second half of the game. The players are on the field, and here's Steve Douglas.
And speaking of spectators, there are more than 36,000 of them at Empire Stadium who watched Ottawa run up a 9-6 margin at half. Racine kicks off for Ottawa, the Rough Riders in white jerseys. From the 2-yard line, Joe Bob Smith bringing it back to the Edmonton 32 before Joe Stracina makes the tackle.
Come on, Joe, boy, we're still in there.
Ottawa's defense continues to be outstanding, and after Kwong made 3 yards and first down, here's Parker fading, looking for receivers, deciding finally to run the ball, and stopped by Mosca on what turns out to be just a 1-yard pickup. Chapman kicking from the Edmonton 35. Stewart receiving for the Rough Riders. A nice run back, finally brought down by Chapman. On this play, the Eskimos' great fullback Johnny Bright is injured, and the anxiety of Edmonton fans shows in their faces as he's carried from the field. Ottawa first down and 10, and the line opens a big hole on the right side as Dave Thielen, leading ground gainer in the Big Four, plows his way for 18 yards. Ottawa quarterback, Russ Jackson, goes for the big one this time. His intended receiver is Davy West. The pass is just a little bit on the short side, and safety man Oscar Kruger makes the interception. West puts the tackle on him as Sawalski comes in to help. Injured on the play, the Ottawa veteran Dave West is forced to leave the game. Edmonton from its own 8-yard line, and here's Parker completing a 15-yard pass play to Smith with Daigneault and Conroy driving him out of bounds. Following an incomplete forward pass, Howie Shum has taken Johnny Bright's place in the Edmonton backfield, and on the first play from scrimmage, he goes for 7 yards into the left side of the line with Sam Scotia piling up the play. Chapman's kick again goes to Ron Stewart. His return halted by Coffey. Ottawa ball first and 10 on the Rider 36. Jackson fakes the pitch out, hands off to Thielen, and Equier makes the tackle on a 2-yard pickup.
Kick down, let's go! Kick it out now, baby, kick it out now!
Jackson rolls out, keeps, and goes for 7 yards before Miles and Equier get to him, and it's 1 yard short of a first down. In spite of an arm broken in 2 places, Davy West sits it out on the Ottawa bench. Gambling on third down with a yard to go, Kelly gets the call and makes it with inches to spare. On the reverse, it's Stewart for Edmonton, Miles, Volken, and Equier, the defenders, and the gain is 5 yards. Quarterback Russ Jackson goes on his own, gets the first down before he is chased out of bounds. On the Edmonton bench, Roger Nelson. It's Thielen again, this time for 6 yards, and Coffey makes the stop. Thielen doubles his last yardage as the Ottawa ground game continues to function in fine style. Thielen gets 12 on this play. Jackson faking to Thielen, and in slow motion, another fine chance to see Stewart's speed, change of pace, and final determination as he leaves would-be tacklers behind him on a 19-yard ramble. Rough Riders first down on the Eskimo 16. Dave Thielen for 5 yards before Tully makes the grab. Jackson is after the touchdown on this one, but he overshoots his intended target, Ron Stewart, by a step or two. The Riders will go for it. Thielen gets the call, but he stopped after a 2-yard gain by Toby Deese, and the Eskimos take over. No further scoring action in the third quarter. Ottawa 9, Edmonton 6. Following an exchange of kicks, Edmonton's ball, first down, the Eskies 22. Parker goes to work first, an 11-yard pass play to Joe Bob Smith, Brancato defending. Trying the airways again, Parker connects with Howie Shum, and before Poirier makes the tackle, it's a 12-yard advance, first down on the Edmonton 45. Bright in the Edmonton backfield again, carries this time for 4 yards, but unfortunately for the Eskimos, that's Johnny's last play of the game. Aggravation of the earlier injury makes it impossible to continue. After a pass misfires, Chapman is back to kick. Daigneault on the receiving end, and Letkovich downfield very fast for the tackle. And one spectator didn't stick around, the Grey Cup pooch. Rough Riders ball, first down, their own 24. Stewart going for 6. Equier continues his fine defensive play as number 1 man on the stop. From the Ottawa 30-yard line, Jackson's pass down the middle is tipped by Ted Tully into Simpson's hands, and he is brought down by Kruger. The gain on the play, 17 yards. Moving the ball into Edmonton territory, it's Thielen crashing through the right side for 11 yards. Kruger coming up for the stop. Kelly on the receiving end of the pitch out, but short yardage as Equier makes the tackle. Second down and 9 to go. Quarterback Russ Jackson shooting long for George Brancato, but it's over his head as the Eskimos double team on defense. Conroy kicking for the Rough Riders. It goes to Rolly Miles. Daigneault was there to make the tackle with Jones and Archambault on the Edmonton 17. Jim Shipka gets 5 yards on first down, then he carries again for 2 more here. Brancato stops his advance. Chapman kicks from his 10. It's Ron Stewart again, and Roy Stevenson spins him to the ground at the Ottawa 42. The Eskimo defensive unit jumps the gun as Thielen carries for 4 yards, and the offside penalty leaves Ottawa with first down on the 47. And now watch the lower left corner of the screen as Bob Simpson drops off the end of the line, making tackle Milt Graham eligible to receive Jackson's pass for a 16-yard gain. And Coffey grounds him. On the reverse, it's Stewart going for 5 yards, former University of Western Ontario star Gino Fracas to make the tackle. 3rd down and 5 yards to go, and this is the play that produces Ottawa's second touchdown. Conroy's kick going to Joe Bob Smith, and Lou Bruce down to make the tackle that jars the ball loose. And as it bounces around at the goal line, Ottawa's co-captain and all-star guard Kay Vaughn falls on it for the major. Vaughn's first touchdown in 14 years of football. This time Schreider adds the extra point, and the Rough Riders have a 10-point margin. Ottawa 16, Edmonton 6. But the Western fans get a chance to hoop it up as Racine's kickoff is taken by Jackie Parker right on the goal line. And watch this tremendous return run of 75 yards before Reynolds gets to him from behind. The Eskimos were unable to sustain a drive, and following an exchange of kicks, they come up first down on the Ottawa 47. Don Getty at quarterback, Parker at a halfback spot. Jackie carries on the reverse, good for 4 yards. Getty passing to Coffey. The gain is 7 yards and a first down at the Ottawa 36. Linebacker Ron Coase making the tackle.
You gotta do it now.
Edmonton works the Getty to Parker aerial combination worth 11 yards. Schreider and Conroy bringing him down. And here is heartbreak for the Edmonton contingent. Getty's pass is picked off by Doug Daigneault. He brings it back to the Ottawa 30-yard line. And with 41 seconds left to play, this is where the fans take over. One intrepid adventurer even swipes the football and exhibits some neat broken field running into the end zone. The gun sounds the end of the game, and for post-game comments, here's Ted Reynolds.
Thank you, Steve Douglas. As usual, the exuberant Western fans are out on the field without waiting for the last official play of the game, hailing the winners, commiserating with the losers, and wrestling with the goalposts. The Grey Cup, donated by Lord Grey over 50 years ago and competed for in 1960 in a setting and atmosphere he could never possibly have imagined, rests safely in the strong arms of Kay Vaughn of the Ottawa Rough Riders, champions of all Canada.